Trump didn't have a lot of positive things to say about the real state of the country in his State of the Union speech. So instead, he came up with a distraction. In the middle of the speech, he called in the US men's hockey team, who recently won gold at the Winter Olympics, and he presented their goalie with the Presidential Medal of Freedom, an award that's typically reserved for more outstanding achievements. But this was an opportunity for people to celebrate something that really had nothing to do with Trump at all. Unfortunately, it left a bad taste in the mouth of a lot of people who would have otherwise supported the men's hockey team. My name is Kat Tenbarge. I'm an independent reporter partnering with Courier, and you can read more of my work at spitfirenews.com. A little over 45 minutes into the televised State of the Union speech, a lot of people were starting to get pretty bored with Trump just standing at the podium and spewing lies about his supposed accomplishments. He needed to do something more dramatic and exciting than that, and he found his perfect opportunity for a stunt with the US men's hockey team.
You're going to win big. You're going to win bigger than ever. And to prove that point, here with us tonight is a group of winners who just made the entire nation proud. The men's gold medal Olympic hockey team. Come on in.
Note there that Trump links the success of the US men's hockey team, something that Donald Trump has absolutely nothing to do with his own performance as president of the United States. Notably, at the exact same time that the approval ratings for his second term in office have never been lower. They are so low that they are dropping off the historical record for just how much America could hate its own president. But Trump needed to deflect from how unpopular his policies really are, so he pulled in some Olympic gold medalists as a very convenient surprise. And the crowd erupted in cheers, as you just heard there, chanting USA, USA, like they were at a frat party where everybody had sipped on a few too many beers. But Trump didn't just stop there with that photo opportunity of all of the hockey players in the rafters. No, he took it a step further, singling out the goalie for a special recognition.
That's the first time I've ever seen them get up. And actually, not all of them did get up. But they beat a fantastic Canadian team in overtime, as everybody saw, as did the American women who will soon be coming to the White House.
It's funny, Trump takes that opportunity to do two things. First, he tries to turn this into a moment to bash Democrats for not standing up, even though Democrats are fully aware that this is all just a distraction from Trump's own failures. Plus, they certainly weren't in support of all the racist rhetoric that Trump had been spewing a few minutes prior. The second thing Trump does here is he points out the fact that the US men's hockey team beat Canada. And Trump has taken a very unpopular stance with regards to Canada's autonomy. He and other members of his administration have claimed that we can just take over Canada and that Canada should be submissive to the whims of the United States and especially Trump, which Canadians, understandably so, are not too happy about. The relationship between the US and Canada because of Trump has actually never been weaker. But instead of taking steps to rectify that, Trump is instead using this sports game as an opportunity to claim that, yet again, we are dominating Canada, when the reality is a hockey game and foreign policy shouldn't have that much cross section or to do with each other. But for Trump, who sees everything through the lens of him either personally winning or losing, he's taking this as an opportunity to pat himself on the back and declare a united victory over Canada. And the third thing that Trump does here that's worth pointing out is he takes this opportunity to celebrate the women's hockey team, who also won gold, and he says they'll be coming to the White House soon. The reality is, just a few days ago, after the men's hockey team win, FBI Director Kash Patel went into their locker room to chug beers, pound tables, and celebrate their win. And while he was in there, he got Donald Trump on speakerphone. And Trump made a very disrespectful joke about the women's team, saying he'd have to invite them to the State of the Union and the White House as well, lest he get impeached. And a bunch of those men who are standing up there in the rafters laughed and heckled and jeered because of this sexist comparison between the two teams. That sexism was incredibly unpopular on social media this week. And Trump clearly knows that because he's trying to sort of rectify the situation by praising the women's team now. But it's a little too late for that, since we all should know how Donald Trump really feels about women at this stage.
They were in the Oval Office before, and I just want to say a second very big congratulations to Team USA. But I have to say that, and I told them this, and we took a vote of the team. I said, anybody votes no, I'm not doing it. So they stood there and they weren't about to say no, because I've never seen a goaltender play as well as goalie Connor Hellebuck. Think of it, 46 shots on goal, and I asked him, the one shot, the one where you put your stick in the back and it hit the neck of your stick and bounced off. Do you practice that, or was that a little lucky? He refused to answer that question. But I just want to tell you that the members of this great hockey squad will be very happy to hear, based on their vote and my vote, and in this case, my vote was more important, that I will soon be presenting Connor with our highest civilian honor, which we will be given and which has been given to many athletes over the years. But when I say many, not too many, like 12, it's called the highest civilian honor in our country, the Presidential Medal of Freedom.
This man is allowing himself to be used as propaganda by an authoritarian regime that is meanwhile murdering his fellow citizens at the hands of ICE officers, which is probably why some of his teammates didn't even show up to this display because they didn't want their faces in the history books next to Trump's modern day concentration camps. But no, these particular hockey players, they have no shame, and they're perfectly willing to be used as pawns in Trump's scheme. That is a man who knows nothing about hockey or sports in general. He's more of a musical theater guy. He could talk your ear off about Phantom of the Opera, but I guarantee you Trump does not know anything about hockey. So, all of this is a macho display to try to signal strength, domination, and masculinity, which is why women simultaneously have to be the butt of the joke because Trump doesn't have anything authentic to bond with these young men over. So instead, he has to bond with them over misogyny. The reality of the US's record breaking performance at the Winter Olympics this year is that women carried 2/3 of those medals. So it sends a very strong symbol of who is really valued under the Trump administration. So it sends a strong message about who the Trump administration truly values when he puts a man up in the stands and awards him with the Presidential Medal of Freedom. And as opinion columnist Jamel Bowie posted on Blue Sky, Trump is handing out the Medal of Honor like it's a cheap prop. As someone who exhibits a lot of narcissistic personality traits, one thing Trump really needs is to be the center of attention. He really needs all applause and all eyes on him, which is why, even as he's congratulating the US men's hockey team, he can't help but reaffirm that his vote is the most important and that he's the most important person in the room. He did the same thing a little earlier when he mentioned he had had the hockey team come to the Oval Office.
I'm not giving it. I'll trade you that for a pen. Hey, that's cool. There we go. I never thought I'd ever have this on my.
These hockey bros should be embarrassed to keep placating Trump, but instead they handed him one of their gold medals and let him wear it for a photo op. And Trump said, "I never thought I'd have one of these on." Probably because Trump is not known for any of his athletic abilities, but nonetheless, he wants the feeling of being an Olympic gold medalist. And unfortunately, these hockey bros are willing to give him that feeling at the risk of their own personal humiliation and the hatred toward them that is emanating from a significant portion of the country right now. As these Blue Sky users pointed out, the US men's hockey team are squandering an unbelievable amount of goodwill from the public in a record amount of time. Mika said, "It really is astonishing. This was the first men's hockey gold since the literal miracle on ice, and they couldn't manage 6 hours before they turned themselves into the dipshit brigade for 60% of the country." Michael Ian Black had a more sobering reminder, which is that one day, at least some of these hockey players will have to explain to their children why they allowed themselves to be used by a fascist. Notably, not every player on the US men's hockey team was willing to degrade themselves by performing alongside Trump, who is one of the least popular and arguably one of the worst US presidents in history. USA Today reported that 5 US men's hockey players, including Jake Gunsel, were not at the State of the Union. The Trump administration utilized taxpayer dollars for this photo opportunity, commissioning an Air Force C 32 aircraft from the Miami International Airport to take these team members to Washington, D.C. But Jake Gunsel of the Tampa Bay Lightning, Colorado Avalanche forward Brock Nelson, Winnipeg Jets forward Kyle Connor, Dallas Stars goalie Jake Ettinger, and Anaheim Ducks defenseman Jackson Lacombe were not present with the rest of their teammates. USA Today continues to report. The Denver Post reported Nelson didn't go on the White House trip in order to be with his family before the Avalanche plays in Utah on Thursday. Gunsel is in Tampa despite not being on the ice for the Lightning's practice on Tuesday. Lacombe is expected back in Southern California on Tuesday evening, and WFAA reported Ettinger was already back in Dallas before Tuesday's White House visit began. Good for those guys. Their faces won't be in the history books next to the modern day Nazi party. The rest, I can't say the same for. Now, after that moment was caught on camera and disseminated across the internet, where Trump joked that he would have to invite the women's team or else get impeached again, he actually did invite the USA women's hockey team to the Oval Office and to the State of the Union. But fortunately, they declined, citing timing and previously scheduled academic and professional commitments as the reason why. I would not want to be anywhere near Trump either, especially after he insulted and mocked me to my male peers after one of the biggest accomplishments of my career. When some of the male hockey players were asked about this, they sidestepped the question. One of them said, "I don't really have any thoughts on that. There's so many things happening. We just won the gold medal and things are going on, so I don't really remember what he said. It's such a whirlwind, just celebrating." If only your female peers could enjoy the whirlwind of celebrations without having to be mocked by the President of the United States in your locker room. Funny how that works. Then Quinn Hughes said, "We're extremely happy for them about the women's hockey team." He said, "Obviously, a lot going on right now on social media surrounding our team and their team, but in the last couple summers, we did a lot of training with them, and I actually know a lot of those girls really well. We're extremely happy to come." So dismissive, not even referring to them as women in a comment to the press right after you just got called out for sexism. Again, so funny how that works, except it's not really funny at all. It's further proof of institutional sexism that disadvantages women when they compete at the exact same level as their male peers. As I pointed out on Blue Sky, in a historic year for women at the Olympics, Trump specifically awarded male athletes with the Presidential Medal of Freedom at the State of the Union. They never cared about women's sports. They never cared about women, period. And then I added, Any player who listens to Trump, a violent despot, stand there and lie about how great the country is, any player who cheered for him, and any player who accepted an award from him as a PR stunt to cover up how low his approval ratings are, is a traitor. And of course, there are far more reasons not to support Trump in this moment beyond just sexism. The Guardian reported that some of the hockey players who declined to participate in these photo ops have ties to Minnesota, where Trump's ICE is currently violently occupying its largest twin cities. Nelson, Lacombe, Gunsel, and Ettinger were each either born in Minnesota. 3, 2, 1. The Guardian reports that out of those 5 players who sat out, 4 of them were actually born in Minnesota or spent large parts of their upbringing there. I imagine that having such close ties to a community that has been devastated by Trump's ICE enforcement has to have likely contributed to the decision to stay away at this time. For those who haven't been paying attention, 2 Americans were shot and killed in broad daylight by officers for exercising their constitutional right to protest. And some Americans who have been hurt by ICE in Minneapolis were just there in the vicinity and were nonetheless violently attacked in the name of stopping illegal immigration. The reality is just that Trump likes to punish blue cities and anyone who doesn't treat him with the same slobbering respect that these other US hockey players did. In that quote from one of the hockey players about social media pitting the men's team against the women's team, he's not entirely wrong, but he's also not entirely right. This isn't social media creating an unfair battle between 2 groups of like minded peers who respect each other. It's people calling out the fact that these male hockey players are complicit and willing to go along with everything the Trump administration stands for, which includes institutional misogyny, racism, and unchecked federal violence against the American people. It's a shameful moment to support Trump or to stand with him on the world stage. And that's something that these hockey players are unfortunately going to have to learn sooner or later.